Thank you to Paradox for sponsoring this video. If you're excited about the release of EU5 and want to pick the game up, then please do so via the affiliate link in the pinned comment or video description. My lords, you will normally find me detailing historical events that have occurred throughout our galaxy. Today, however, you will find me learning how to play the latest installment of the Europa Universalis franchise. I shall be playing as the Ottoman Empire, and we have the sole goal of attempting to conquer another country. This game is rather complicated, and it being my first experience with a Europa Universalis game, I shall be playing through the tutorial in full, and we can learn about the mechanics of the game together. Before we get into the tutorial, I want to briefly give my thoughts on the game. EU5 is perhaps the most in-depth, mechanically rich game I have ever played. Coming from Stellaris, which after all the thousands of hours I put into it feels like second nature to me now, EU5 is a level above in terms of detail. Now, you could certainly call this complicated, but I feel like that has an inherent negative undertone, and given the automation available to the player, I do feel like the game allows me to automate the parts of it that I don't understand, which is of course fantastic, or else I would certainly feel overwhelmed by all the mechanics. Now, how good that automation actually is at representing a player, I'm not too sure, but that's because I'm not good at the game. What I do love is the country availability, the tidbits of history that we're given. Some of the mechanics I'm yet to explore appear fantastic at first glance, dealing with plagues for example, or the intrigue of internal politics. It all looks marvellous to me. Even the combat systems, allowing you to set regiments for example, is fascinating to me, considering that in the context of Stellaris, you can build and design ships, but a fleet is basically a fleet. EU5 is levels above that. Given the sheer amount of content the game can provide, with the £50 or $60 USD price point, I think it feels very reasonable indeed. You'll easily be able to dump thousands of hours into the game and likely not run out of new things to learn. Of course, I suspect the Paradox model will bring forth a suite of DLCs, which you can choose to opt in or opt out of if you wish. I'm probably not best placed to comment regarding which areas are likely to be expanded, as I feel like, in reality, I've barely scratched the surface of what this game has to offer. With a TLDR, I've enjoyed my brief time with EU5. If you're a fan of complex 4X games, I'd highly recommend it. It's going to be a staple of the genre for years to come. If you enjoy a more simplistic strategy game, then I'd still recommend it, but I would stress that you need to be prepared to put the time in to get the most out of the game. If you're watching this, you probably play Stellaris, and if you're coming from Stellaris, I would suggest you'd be in that second category. In my opinion, Stellaris is significantly easier to get into. There's just simply less mechanics. Therefore, if you have a special interest in the period of history, or you just enjoy map painters in general, you will certainly enjoy this game if you put the appropriate time in to learn how to play it. With that all said, let's play through the tutorial together. Let's get into it. So we shall be selecting a new game, and right at the beginning we get the introduction to the game. EU5 is a deep historical grand strategy game about countries during the late Middle Ages and early modern period, vying for power through war, diplomacy, colonization, and social and economic change. To start a new game, we recommend picking any of the recommended countries, or if you prefer, you can choose another country. Now, what I'll do very briefly for you is show you all the different countries you can play as, but that will not be me, because I am a massive noob. We will absolutely be playing through the tutorial as one of the recommended countries. But now the game has loaded up, you can see all the different options that you can play as, and it is remarkable. Ordinarily, I would be playing as the Kingdom of England, because of course I'm English, but I've been told that England is quite a complicated empire to play, so we shall be backing out of this, going back to the main menu, and selecting a recommended country. Now, we have several options available. We have Norway, we have Castile, or I guess Spain, we have Holland, Naples, southern Italy, Hungary, and the Ottomans. Now, my personal preference is to learn how to expand, and as I said at the beginning, I set myself the goal of conquering another country. So given that expansion is my goal, we have Castile or the Ottomans. Now I'm going to choose the Ottomans because they have a lot less territory than Castile, and therefore I hope it will be easier for me to understand exactly what's going on. So we'll select the Ottomans. And we're given some history about the Ottoman Empire. The Ottomans are consolidating their position as one of the most powerful beyliks, also known as Turkish warlords. They are eager to secure vital territories along the Bosphorus coast and the Antillean highlands. There have been some recent conquests along the border with Byzantium, which stands as the main enemy for the West to defeat. Gaining dominance over the neighbouring beyliks will considerably increase the resources needed for future victories. As stated, we are going to play expansion, so we're going to focus on army, navy, declare war on your enemies, take control of the neighbouring lands by force, and so on. So Ottoman selected, let's play. Now I feel like I am very experienced in playing Stellaris. I have more or less 2,000 hours in the game, and I'm old enough to have played the original Age of Empire games when they were new. I've played many Total War games, and I've dabbled with Hearts of Iron 4 and Age of Wonders as well, but my experience with EU is completely new. So, nearly 5 centuries of history are about to unfold before us. As the spirit of our nation, we have the power to choose how. We could conquer the world. Well, that's definitely what we're going to do. We can develop our society into a flourishing utopia. We're probably not going to be focusing on that today. Or become an unrivaled economic power. I guess to be able to conquer another country, we're going to need a good economy. Nevertheless, whatever we choose to do, history is ours to control. So, fortunately, the tutorial is really quite good. First we have the camera controls. This is all normal. I'll skip through this. But then we have game concepts. So anyone familiar with a Paradox game will know what's going on here. You hover your mouse over the blue text, and then that will bring up a box with more blue text in it. You can then hover over that, and it explains what everything is, and you can keep going until the cows come home or until you run out of things to click on. In EU5 you play as the spirit of the nation, an abstract representation of our country. So we're playing as the beylik of the Ottomans, a country with Orphan Bey as its ruler. And this is us, I assume, at the top, looking very pretty. So the top bar looks, on first glance, complicated, but once you understand what's going on, it's not so bad. So we have a few different elements. On the left, we can see our estates. So all of these different things up here are your different estates. Now, estates are special interest groups within a country. So based on my Stellaris experience, I think they're a bit like factions, but a lot more in depth, and they do a lot more. We also then have your resources, which is what you would expect. So you have your ducats, which is the gold of the Ottomans. This is our currency. So on this screen, you can see the taxes that you get from our estates. So these are the numbers on the right-hand side of the screen. And then you can see your expenses. So cost of court, diplomatic spending, army maintenance, etc. Our most important resource, however, is our population, which is this figure up here. And straight away, you can see the map did something wonderful, which is go to population map mode. So all these little areas have their own population, and we can see exactly how many people are in each group. On this screen, you can also see the breakdown of other things like what nationality people are, what religion people are, and then what social strata they fall into. So whether they're peasants or labourers, tribesmen, slaves, and so on. Anyone who plays Stellaris will know stability is also important. This is displayed at the top. And stability, rather than being per planet like it is with Stellaris, appears to be the entire empire. So the time, we'll skip past that because we don't need to worry about it too much, but they're essentially different ages. Now we need to look at our main panels, which is these along the left-hand side of the screen. So we have the government panel. So in the government panel, we can see estates, parliament, cabinet, and laws. In economy, we can see all the different estates and their taxes. We have access to markets, and we have access to trading as well. There's a lot to take in, but I'll say it now, you can automate an awful lot of the game, so you can focus on the bits that interest you the most. But we'll get to that. On top of game concepts that we can find all over the game, this is the blue text that you can mouse over, you can also look at hints, which is over here on the right-hand side. So this panel contains hints that are relevant to your current game position. So if we open them, for example, it's going to give us starting advice for the Ottomans. So if we click that, it has a whole wall of text that will explain to us important things that we should be focusing on. So let's start out with balance. Ducats are one of the most important resources in the game. That makes complete sense. Most actions will cost money, and very often your ability to impose your will as a ruler, both outside and inside your own country, will depend on the wealth that you're able to concentrate. The path to global domination is paved with gold and blood. So most of the finances are controlled from the balance panel, which is this one over here on the far left. This shows us income and outgoing. Most of the wealth in EU5 will be generated on a monthly basis in the land that we own, which is locations. We'll get to the locations later, but we can hover over the tax base number on the top left corner to see a disclosure of our richest locations. So all of these names represent locations, and then the little icon represents whether it's a city or something else, but we will learn about that later. However, ducats do not go directly into your treasury. As the government, we only collect a fraction of the tax base by extracting taxes from our estate. So we learnt about our estates earlier. So down here it lists all the different estates, and you have them up here as well, remember, if you need to check them quickly without going in to the economy menu. What I found incredibly valuable is that there is automation for all of this. So if this specific mechanic isn't something that you want to get into immediately, you can simply click the cog and automate your taxes. Now the focus of our playthrough today is going to be to dominate another country, so that's what we're going to do. So now that we've automated all of our taxes, we need to look into minting. So minting is a way to increase our treasury at the cost of inflation. If we do not mint any new coins, inflation may decrease. Currently we can see that inflation is in the negative, which is in theory a good thing because our coins are going to become worth more over time. However, we can increase the rate that we mint, and this will change the rate of inflation. What the tutorial appears to not want me to do is not create inflation. So we will put it all the way down to, let's go for 0.05. Perhaps they want to talk to the Bank of England about that one. Anyway, the two other most common sources of income are trade and food. These are more advanced, we won't cover them for now, but we can learn about them later if we want to, which is fantastic. So now we're going to unpause and look at expenses. And this is what you'll see is all these update as the month ticks over. So we'll go to the top and I'll speed it up and then it's going to pause again for me. Fantastic. So we can see that we got another month of income, which is great. And we get a little bit of history about our empire. I apologize in advance for any pronunciation mistakes. I am not Turkish. I don't speak Turkish, but I'll do my best. Born from the ashes of the dying Seljuk Sultanate, the small territory of Orhan Bey was initially overshadowed by more powerful neighbours. However, the vision and ambition of the Ottomans would prove far-reaching, as they have recently embarked on a path of expansion and consolidation, carving out their place in the tumultuous tapestry of a fragmented Anatolia. Orhan Bey and his successors skillfully capitalized on the prevailing chaos and divisions within the region. With each victory, the Ottoman Principality grows stronger, attracting warriors, scholars, and ambitious minds eager to participate in this rising power. Their strategic marriages, shrewd alliances, and military prowess gradually turned a modest state into an empire in the making. It is our destiny. Okay, so now that we've looked at that, we're going to look at monthly expenses. So this is also things that you can change, but for now we have automated it, so we're going to skip it. We can come back to that at another time. Now that we've looked at economies, we're going to look at the crown and the estates. So as you've gathered, estates are incredibly important, especially since they've got their own little heading at the top of the menu. So we need to open the government panel, which is this panel here, and we're going to look at estates, which we've done already. So this window shows us the different groups that control political power in the country. Each estate has a percentage of estate power. As the embodiment of the nation, we are represented by the crown. So we're this purple one at the top. Our crown power represents our ability to oppose the particular interests of our estates. Namely, it allows you to extract higher taxes and increase estate satisfaction and support in Parliament. It makes changing laws easier and provides a percentage of the profits of trade. So essentially this is us, and our people, and namely our estates, need to like us so that we can make change happen across the empire. And I think fairly succinctly, estates can be powerful assets when managed correctly, but if displeased, they'll quickly turn into an insidious thorn. On top of contributing your treasury with taxes, estates are essential to the business of war, since we will depend on their levies to fight the wars for us, until we can afford to replace them with regular regiments. However, if estates are disloyal, they might start supporting rebellions against our power, which could potentially overthrow our rule through a civil war. Well, that's something to bear in mind for sure, isn't it? Estates can be granted privileges, which usually increase both estate satisfaction and estate power, but revoking the privileges will anger them. So to give them a privilege, we click this little icon, and then we can pick something. What do we think the estate of Guzat would like? And what we can see is, based on this little icon here, how much the estate will enjoy the privilege. So banal lordship, for example, will go down very well indeed. Thus, we shall select this one. Fantastic. On to social classes. Aside from privileges, estates derive their estate power primarily from the social makeup of the population. So as you'll notice, our population is divided into different estates, and you can see on this screen here who is reflected in which estate. So the Guzmat are supported by the nobles, the Olama by the clerics, the burghers by the burghers, and the commoners by the peasants, labourers and soldiers. So the map. As you may have gathered, the map is rather complicated, but we can zoom out, which shows us all the different countries across the world, and we can open a country panel by left clicking on it. So let's click on Bulgaria. This gives us our country panel. So countries are nothing without locations. Locations are the heart of the economy and the politics of any country. Locations produce goods and generate taxes, but they're also home to the population. So you remember these little icons I mentioned earlier? Well, these show you where our cities are. So we can see Izmit, which is a city. I believe that's possibly a capital city. And Bursa as well is a city. So we can click on Bursa and see all this fantastic stuff inside. The most important location for any country is the capital, no surprise. Our capital is Bursa, and we note this because it's got the little star inside the icon. Okay, so looking at the location, any location is populated by the social classes we've already discussed. The amount of people in each social class will depend primarily on the buildings present in the location. Buildings can be built by you or your estates, and they will need to employ a specific social class to function. Peasants will promote to the necessary social class to fill them. Some buildings produce goods, and some will generate taxes. Each location will specialize in producing one specific good in their resource gathering operations, or RGO. This is now getting quite in-depth into the economy, so we'll briefly skip over this. But we can see that our tax base in Bursa, we can see that where the various shares come from across the general social strata. So the next concept to grasp is map nodes. So if we hover over the control tooltip, which is this here, we can see whether or not we have effective control of our capital city. Clearly this is quite important, and I hope we have control over it, which it looks like we do. But we can click this little key, and the color will change depending on the control. So you can see our country, and then the locations closer to our capital city are more in our control. So you can see that over here, for example, it's quite brown and dirty. That's because we don't have much control at all. And maybe we'll need to send some soldiers in there shortly. So there's an absolute ton of map modes that we can access if you mouse over this icon at the bottom. Political, tax base, raw materials, control, proximity, markets, diplomacy, but we will stick with terrain for now. So one of the key ways that you can increase control is to have proximity. And how do you have proximity? You build roads. So we're going to build a road from Bursa, and it will cost us gold, of course. So to do this, we're in the city of Bursa, we click roads, and then we can pick where we're going to build a road to. So click on any neighbouring location on the map to start construction. Well, if memory served, over here we were having some issues, weren't we? It was not very... It appears that we're poor, ladies and gentlemen. We cannot afford the 674. I knew I should have played as the British. Okay. Anyway, let's build a road. Where's a closer road that we can build to? Should we build one to this city over here, Izmik? Yes, fantastic. So we're building a road to Izmik. Bravo. So the road is now under construction. It will take some months to finish, and we can see construction progress in the circular widget on the map over the capital. So I believe that's this. Yes. So it gives us a will finish date, and it tells us how much stuff we need to make it. So there's a few extra things that we need to look at the outlier, and we are finally getting to the military bits and pieces. So we've got armies over here. Good stuff. Okay, so open the context menu. The outliner offers us an overview of what's going on in your country. For instance, you can see the road that we just built under constructions. Yes, we can. Look, we can see it down here. I wonder why there's two. Did we accidentally build two? Maybe that one was already being built. The contents of the outliner are highly customizable. That's fantastic. So we can add things to it. So let's try this. So we can add things to this menu. If we right click and then click this little star, it pins it. There you go. Now it's up here under locations, and we can get rid of it by unstarring it. Fantastic. We will be able to access everything that we pinned on the right hand side of the screen, and we're getting to the end of the tutorial, or at least the economy tutorial. So now we're going to look at automation, because this is going to be absolutely key to me being able to play the game, since I am a big noob. What we can do is open the automation channel, and then open the automation panel, and then click the cog. So this is going to automate our finances. This is going to automate trade. We've got building automation. We have close and open buildings, subsidize buildings, destroy estate buildings, RGO. So RGO, remember, is the raw goods output. Research and laws and government reforms. All of these blue things are politics, and that is not what we're interested in doing. But the red things at the bottom. So this is all war. So we're going to learn exploration, colonies, army construction, naval construction, replace generals, replace admirals. So it appears that as soon as I've automated the ability for my empire to select rivals, we have a new rival, the Trapezoon Empire. So the next thing we need to look at is the agenda. This is where we'll find historical context about our country and a collection of those hints most relevant to us. The agenda is over here on the right. It's quite nice that it buzzes for you. So here we have the starting advice and lots of other things that I should probably deal with, but I'm not going to do that. We advise you. Literally unplayable. Anyway, open the governments tab, open the missions tab, and then pick a mission focus. So top left, government tab, missions, and then we've got expansion, because that's what we're going to do. Open the military panel, which is this one here. Oh, okay. This is now starting to speak to me. So in here, we will see an overview of our armies. In the event of a war, armies can be moved across the map. Brilliant. Armies are composed of regiments of 3 different types. We have levies, so we've learnt about these. These seem to be sort of not slaves, but not proper soldiers. We have regulars, which are professional soldiers we need to pay and train, and then we have mercenaries. Fantastic. It seems that at the moment we primarily rely on levies from estates, but as time progresses and advancements are made, there will be a shift to professional regiments which require manpower. So manpower represents the limit of how many blackguards and scoundrels a country can support in its standing army. Manpower is expended when training and maintaining professional regiments, which are usually more effective than levies. That makes sense. So we have Cassius Belli, but we'll skip over that for now. And we have war, but before we can get to war, we need to build some soldiers. Look at the geopolitics. So we need to look at the geopolitics panel for some words. Okay, geopolitics. Ooh, that's cool. So we can recruit explorers. It looks like we're already doing that. We've got maritime. We've got diseases as well. Oh, well, oh no. There's plagues, influenza, malaria, typhus. Oh, bloody hell. Okay, so let's look at missions. So government tab, and then expansion and missions. So regional expansion or humiliate a rival. I think we want regional expansion. So let's do that. Missions are packages of tasks that will give some guidance on what exactly it is we can do. So we've got a few missions to get started. We've got raise a war chest. We're now aiming to achieve this task. And we've got raise an army. We have managed to achieve this task. Obtain a Cassius Belli. The best way to obtain a Cassius Belli is requesting one from our parliament. You can call a permanent session from the government panel, parliament. Okay, let's try that then. Fabricate Cassius Belli. Asking Divian to approve a war by giving us a legit. We will choose a country to get dubious claims on. Select a country. We have Divian in session. We have greater than equal support. Okay, so we're going to have to wait some time, I think, before we can do that. But how do we recruit soldiers, sir? Oh, we've got our first event. The restoration of Iznik. Long ago, the site of the great Roman city of Nika has been in decline ever since we captured it, and perhaps long before that. The local burghers want us to support a restoration of the ruined, neglected town to attract new settlers and remind us that Iznik holds great value and prospect for expansion. I think the glory of old shall be restored. We will definitely do that. But the most important thing that we need to do is build armies. So how do we do that? Here we go, recruit regulars. So we go to our location and we go recruit regulars. And what do we want? I think we want some footmen. How many footmen can we make? Just one footman? We cannot afford. Ah, we're low on coins. The computer must have spent all my coins. We've decided to view the Greek as a tolerated culture. Okay, well that's good to know. Poor Greek. So I think the reason is because the AI is probably spending some of my coins.
75 years later.
Okay, so you find us several years into the future, and we have managed to acquire a nice sizable force. I've got horsemen, I've got archers, I've even got some camp followers in here as well. That's the auxiliary units you can see. Now, while I've been building up this army, this city down here, the town of Kutaya, is apparently quite unhappy with us. Now, I believe this is what this opinion... Oh, it says that it's approving. I'm lying, apparently. It says current opinion is improving, but that definitely was not the case. They talked some smack about me. So we are going to go to war with them. So my goal is to take this city. So to do that, you need to declare war on them. I can left click on the country and click declare war. Now, as you can see, there are 5 enemy participants, so these people clearly have allies. They are only a minor Beylik, and we are a Beylik. In terms of Cassius Belli, take claims. I knew that we were in trouble. So claims on province, take Kutia. So I'm going to declare war. Fantastic. Our marshal reports war. We have declared war on the minor Beylik of the Germanids. Let us hope our preparations are enough. So my goal is going to be, I'm going to slow the game right down. I'm going to move my soldiers into this city here. The town has no forts and it's not in a supply zone. So let's play this out. I've also recruited some mercenaries, but I don't think they've arrived yet. Here we go. So my soldiers are moving in. Now, we don't know where any of their soldiers are. It seems that we don't have the intelligence to figure out exactly where their men are. But I'm sure that we will find them sooner or later. Let's see if they're defending their city. They don't appear to be. My soldiers are simply walking in. Have we taken the city? Here we go, fantastic. The occupation of Kutia lasted 15 days before the garrison finally succumbed to hunger and disease. Yes. The garrison has been allowed to march out. So we have now taken that province. That is now one of our provinces. Look, we can see soldiers moving in though. Oh, I think we need to get our soldiers over here to defend. Oh no, look, we're under attack. Okay, we wiped out the Sabib Atids. But look, it looks like we've got some men over here that we need to send our soldiers round. Let's move over, please, fellas. Kerbus has fallen, so they've taken one of our cities in the east. But look, we are fighting a colossal war. We just absolutely smashed that army. Let's now move into Kerbus, and let's take Kerbus back. Oh yeah, I mean our soldiers are far. Look, our soldiers are absolutely annihilating them. Good job, men. Stab, stab, stab. We have won! So it looks like they've got some men retreating. Oh, okay, there's another army over here. We should probably have to go and take that back now. The issue is that we might be running out of soldiers. But nevertheless, we will send our boys to battle. It's 948 against 2,500. This might be our last stand, and this is entirely a reflection of me as a commander. Oh no, they're walking towards our capital city. We must flank them from behind. And I'll send this army in from the front. To war! Oh no. That went badly. That went badly. That also went badly. Oh no, they're marching on our capital city. Clearly, I did not make a good choice in declaring war and trying to take this city. Since I don't have it anymore and there's now a large force walking towards my capital city. I think that is going to be a fantastic place to leave it. I have enjoyed my time with EU5. As I said at the beginning of the video, it is an awfully in-depth game and there's so much to it. I feel like if I was to play this for 500 hours or 1,000 hours, there'd still be parts. Oh no, our capital just fell. There'd still be parts of the game that I simply just wouldn't be able to grasp until you put enough time into it. But it is an awful lot of fun, and I think they've done a really good job with it. This is certainly something that over the coming months I'm going to have to put some more time into and see where I can take it. I think I would love to play as the... Oh, look, something's happened in England. The English nobles have taken some of England. Apparently I'm easily distracted. I think to sum up, EU5 is very much an enjoyable game, and the depth to it is just crazy. Maybe if I ever get good at the game, I'll play as England and try and take over the entire continental Europe and sort of, I guess, South Asia slightly, Middle East, Africa. Glorious. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Thank you to Paradox for sponsoring the video, and I hope to see you in the next video.